screening of the function call. Yeah, this is kind of the pre-show stuff, so I don't know if we have anything to actually do. Oh, I should probably pull up Twitch in case anyone comes on.
Get your chat on. Oh, you've turned into a weird audio monster.
Oh, because of Twitch? Am I good now?
Yeah, it's better now, I think.
Yeah, not good now.
Oh.
Good.
Okay.
I think, yeah, I'm good. You good?
Yeah, you're fine now. Well, now you've turned into a robot again.
Okay, cool.
I'm a robot. This is how robots talk.
It's that kind of nightmare, isn't it?
Oh, is it? Is it still bad?
It's like coming in and out, and not in a good way.
Okay, how's this? Any better?
It's better.
It's coming in and out, not in a good way. Boy, I think we got the bumper. Is it good? Is it good? Is it good?
Yeah,
you like this?
You're okay. I think you might be on like a slight delay, but I mean that's
Really?
just how you live life, so it's okay.
You sound just fine to me.
That's kind of how I live my life.
No, but see, that was no delay though. We're good. We're good.
Yeah, I think we're on a good one now.
All right, we're on a good one. We're on a good one. Cool. Yeah, I forgot that chat can actually be right in here. So looks like you're in bed. Okay, no, forget it. All good. Let's do this. All right, you ready to kick this off?
Kick it.
Kick it. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of The Function Call. We're on the show today with Grant, my homie, my dude, my guy, Glidewell.
Hello. Have you met Austin Gill?
I'm Austin Gill.
That's correct.
That's right. I got it. First try this time.
That's so awesome.
I'm making progress, Grant.
It's
coming up in the world.
Slow clap.
Yeah. Yeah, good stuff. It's been these episodes are kind of taking a little bit of a slower cadence, but I'm still glad that we're putting it on, especially for the folks that are on the stream today. But those of you that are listening to the podcast, you're missing out on this hardcore Joe Rogan look that Grant's got going on.
That's
it's just, and it's not. Let me put it this way. You look like Joe Rogan. Not like you embody him or any of his characteristics or opinions or anything like that, but you just kind of got, you have like that 5 o'clock shadow coming in and
the bald white guy with stubble.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, so like where I come from, that's an insult, but I understand what you're saying.
No, you look good though. You look good.
See, that's a very different thing than saying I look like Joe Rogan.
You're right. You look good. I'm just gonna let me redact my statement. I'm just gonna say, hey Grant, you look good today. You got the bald white guy with stubble look going on, and you're rocking it.
Thanks, Austin. You got the white dude with like RGB cat ears on, and I am loving it. I am here for it.
We're just both loving on each other today.
As the kids say, negativity. You are giving.
Giving. Was that it? That's all the kids say?
I believe that's all the kids say.
They say you're giving with an intonation that sounds like they're going to say something else, but they actually just finished the sentence right there.
Yes.
Man, periods are weird these days.
Just to confuse the olds. That's what they do.
Okay, cool. Well,
it's nice to be back.
It's your turn.
2.
No, that was it. That was the sentence. It's your turn. Didn't you hear the period? The Gen Z period I put in there?
Oh, dude, it's way too early in the show for you to get me like that.
I'm a quick learner, all right? I'm a quick learner.
Oh. Wow. That is so, like, even without the video of my very confused Joe Rogan-esque mug,
Your
that
words,
is
not
gonna
mine.
be yeah, my words, not yours. Yeah, that's gonna be a golden thing happening.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, it's a function call. Welcome. I hope we set the right tone that, this is a fun show about web development. I guess we didn't get to the web development part yet, but we're getting there now.
I think we're gonna get into a very fun deep dive on a single attribute on the HTML element.
Yeah.
That is super fun. So, like, when people define fun, I'm often like, give me some obscura on a debatable programming language. Like, that's what I want.
Actually, if we want to go obscure, I have a video coming out on YouTube next week, I think, that is actually like a cool cross section of obscure deep knowledge in a technology that's actually really popular, but not a lot of people know about this little known issue, and a technically elegant but simple to implement solution that I don't know. We could talk about it today, or we could just wait until it comes out, or come back to it some other time. But
you've
what a
totally
tangent.
piqued my curiosity.
Yeah.
So this is either something around nan in JavaScript, or
no. I could do it real quick.
I need to know.
Okay, so Apache HTTP server, right? Most popular HTTP server on the planet, right? It has a couple of modules, and one of them is, well, something that it has built in is the ability to use these things called e-tags. Are you familiar with an e-tag?
I am not.
Okay, so an e-tag is an HTTP response header. So when you make a request to a server, that HTTP header comes back on the response. Now, the request, and the e-tag serves as a method for identifying a resource. So let's say a JavaScript file, a resource, and a version of that resource. So in order to get the version, let's say you're requesting hello world.js, and when it comes back from the server says, here's your file with all of its content. By the way, in this response, this is the e tag that marks the version of this file. And that's usually generated from either the file contents or the last modified time. It usually looks like maybe like a hash value, right? So just like gibberish string.
Right.
So a request, a client, once they receive that, a client request can actually take that e tag, put it into another HTTP request header. I don't remember what it's called, like if not modified or something like that.
Okay.
And you can send this request header with your request and put that e tag in there, or the value in there, and say, hey, origin server, I'm requesting hello world.js again. And here's the version that I have, or something. Or actually, this probably wouldn't happen from the client to the server, now that I think about it, but it could happen from the CDN to the server. The CDN can say, hey, I have this version. Is that the latest version that you have?
Yeah.
And if it is, the server can say, yeah, I have this e tag, and the proxy CDN can say, yes, I have this e tag. We're cool. I'm just going to send this cache version back to the client instead of getting a whole new version.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, like
a cache check hash kind of deal.
Yeah,
there.
Sort of.
Okay.
I'm probably kind of botching this a bit, but
okay.
This is my mind. Yeah. This is showing like my lack of expertise. This was me sitting in a room with other very smart people talking about this. So the problem here is, or the kind of nice feature here is that this can actually, by sending a 304 not modified response instead of sending the entire resource, you can get a faster response, and you can save bandwidth because you're just sending a not modified response instead of the entire file, right?
Right.
Now, Where this gets interesting is Apache has support for that built in, but if you enable the gzip module in Apache, that feature actually breaks, which is ironic because the gzip module is actually intended to make responses faster and save bandwidth. And this is a known issue. This is like a 16-year-old issue. And there is a solution. You like with Apache, you can fix this, right? But the problem is that when you enable gzip, those etag values end up having a -gzip flag appended to the end of them. So you can picture it as etag header equals some hash value -gzip, right? That comes back to the client. So then when the client says, hey, can I have this, resource, and this is the version that I have, and it's got this gzip value, unfortunately, Apache does the comparison without accounting for that gzip suffix. I think I said prefix before, but it's a suffix, right?
Okay.
So Apache says, I have this resource and it's a hash, and it says, and someone's asking for this resource and it's a hash plus -gzip, and it says those are not the same. Here's the new version, which could still be the unmodified version, and it sends the whole thing over again, right? And it's still gzipped, I think it's still gzip, but it's unnecessary resources. These are those sorts of problems that are like, you're at a very big level if you're debugging this issue, and again, smart people, right? Yeah. Not the sort of room that I'm used to being in.
It's not the function call.
Yeah. Not the function call. Not around here. Take those e-tags and just walk on out of here. You're getting the whole response regardless. So we've talked about the problem and the solution, and this is a well-documented problem with Apache, and there's solutions that if you have access to modify the Apache config, you can go ahead and implement those solutions. Problem is, developers like you and I, who realistically have probably never even heard of this issue before. I mean, e-tags, what? But let's say that we come across it, we somehow deduce that our company is experiencing this issue and we want to fix it. And some higher up on our team says, you are not going to go near the Apache config, right? Like there's no way that we're going to let you touch it.
That is very likely.
That kind of sucks.
And or probably a good decision.
Probably a good decision. Around the function call here, yeah. But a scenario number 2, which that one is kind of annoying, or maybe like it takes a certain amount of time for it to actually roll out in the next release that go to prod or whatever. It could take a while. But another very likely scenario is if this problem exists with some sort of third-party API that you are interfacing with, you have no one to even go to. Even if you have the fix, like you can't just be like, hey, can I put in this change request to fix the problem? You can maybe email them and go through tech support and point them to the bug and whatever.
Right.
So the actually interesting solution here is I work at Akamai. We have a product called Edge Workers, which effectively, and I'm basically just redoing this whole 5-minute video that is going to be on YouTube next week, but that's fine.
I think I know the solution, and it makes me very happy, and I like this.
This is really cool. This is really cool. Is Edge Workers can sit in between a client request and the response, and they can modify both the request coming in or the response coming back. So with an Edge Worker, you can actually intercept the request, see if it's looking for one of those if not modified headers, see if it has that gzip suffix, strip it out, put it back into the request, and send it along its merry way. And Apache is going to be none the wiser and say, oh, yeah, cool. Like, here, that resource and that version, I got you. You already got it. 304, not modified. You're good. Good to go.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's a really cool, and that's what I'm saying, like really like technically cool, fascinating, but also surprisingly simple solution to this obscure. You get you get where the layers there that I'm like, that's just cool.
It requires this layer to exist that historically didn't. Like that's really, really fun, cool, interesting. I'm into it. All right. Hopefully that doesn't cannibalize your video that you're going to be releasing later.
I
Probably
mean, I
not.
think it's fine to talk about the same thing more than once in different mediums, you know?
How could you possibly do that?
Yeah.
So I've been deterred from writing blog posts about a very specific technology by one of the creators of said technology because they had already covered that and pointed me to several blog posts that they made.
Ooh, that's
This
kind
is
of a
so
content creation faux pas.
in general, yes, I agree. And so like I would never want to deter you from doing that. And so thank you.
I could see if they want to prevent you from like some SEO thing from your content being considered the more authoritative thing, but then that's also like just make yours better, you know, if you're scared of that or worried about that. I don't know.
Yeah,
Also, like that's also
that's pretty minimal for
yeah,
me.
that's also a good collaboration opportunity to be like, "Hey, I love that you're working with my stuff. Please, you know, yeah, like it looks good. Can you add a link to us or something?"
Yeah, to their credit, they are somebody who's dealing with a very complex piece of technology and getting misinformation out there, like somebody with a pattern that maybe works, but will create other problems at scale. Like I wasn't about
Mm,
to make recommendations that would do that. This person doesn't know me that well, so
yeah,
I can understand their hesitation and wanting to put forth like this is our idea of best practices because
yeah.
it gets really wild pretty quickly. Then again, if your piece of technology can be misused that way, maybe that's your problem.
Well, they also may have some insights to changes that are coming and wanting to reduce the amount
Mhm.
of, yeah, eventual misinformation, right? Because it could be something that's like it works today, but with changes that are coming, like I know the Vue.js ecosystem is kind of going through that right now, where short term everyone's still kind of on Options API, but long term they kind of want to start all of the content to come out be like the what's it called, composition API.
Mm. Cool.
Yeah.
That
So I
makes
just want to
sense.
circle back and make one final note on that edge workers thing is that I think it's a really cool way to monkey patch a solution for like an interim in this specific case for like an interim solution. But if you can get that solution pushed, like the actual solution pushed out at the Apache config level, then that's probably the right way. But this is a really cool way to like push out the fix today, get your team to implement the fix whenever it's available to them, and then you can like roll back your edge worker. So cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love stuff like that. Like especially with I mean, edge workers I think are going to be super useful and they're specifically going to be useful for people in like my circles, like the
Yeah.
more front end, middle end heavy like I deal a lot with kind of front end storage mechanisms that connect to APIs and writing wrappers around that like the pure UI can kind of be generated from that. So like this sort of stuff is this is the new hammer and I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is because it unlocks a lot of potential, and you know, with that, like you have to be very responsible on how you use them.
No one's gonna be
Yeah.
responsible. They're gonna go
Yeah,
nuts.
knowledgeable and responsible, but also, yeah, it should be fun.
Yeah.
Okay, on to what you were actually alluding to
Yes.
of some yeah, like knowledge I picked up. So a while back, I don't remember how I came across it. I feel like I was just looking through the MDN docs and like randomly came across this HTML capture attribute. And I was like, what the heck is that? Never heard of it, right? And the way that it works, it's only available on inputs with the type of file. So you have a file input. Normally, when you like click on it, it opens up the UI that lets you sort of select from a list of files on your device, and it makes that file's binary content available to the form or to the uh, input, right?
Yeah.
Now, the
Yeah.
interesting thing is the web application doesn't actually have access to but it does have no, it does have access to the file contents. Anyway, all that aside, what the capture attribute actually does is if you go to that same web application on a mobile device and that input has the attribute of capture, which can be set either to user or environment, those settings can allow for that file input when it's interacted with by the user to open up the camera directly instead of opening up a file picker. So you're going through a form,
Ooh.
you click the file input, you click it, and all of a sudden you have the camera. And the user, the value of the capture, if it's set to user, it'll be the front-facing camera. If it's set to environment, it'll be the back-facing camera, or the microphone as well. Like you could do just audio if you want.
Oh, so except audio.
Yeah, you can
video.
do so. You can do photos explicitly. You can do explicitly video, or you can do just audio.
This is
So
rad. This is one of those things that, like, unless you are building an application specifically that does, I mean, really what we're doing here, like with Restream or Soundtrap, like you typically aren't going to get into these kinds of like this
well,
input.
see, the thing is, it wouldn't work for something that's like live.
Okay.
So this is where it started. Like, it's funny. It's a funny journey that people go through with this attribute, because first you kind of get what it does. Cool. You have like with the HTML, with just HTML, you have access to initiate working with the camera, right?
Right.
Great. That sounds convenient. And the way that it works, I think the thing that gives it value is as a user experience improvement, because if you are in some if you're expecting your users to be in some sort of context where they are going to be taking a picture at that moment that they're filling out the form. Think if you're trying to sell something uh, and you're filling out a form to like upload it, add the thing to.
Identity verification. You need a picture of their ID.
Sure, like most people don't just have a picture of their ID just on their phone conveniently, or
And if you do, you should
maybe you
delete it.
shouldn't. Yeah, you probably shouldn't have it on there.
Yep.
So yeah, you want to do like a photo of your face or your ID or whatever, right? Like as you're filling out the form, you hit this file input. It's really annoying to have to take a photo first and then hit that file, like go to the URL, fill out the
Yep.
form, go to the file picker UI, and then select the file. It's way more convenient to be filling out the form and then you're like, also because many times you don't know in advance that you do need to be uploading some sort of photo, right?
Right.
So you go to the website, you fill out the form, you get to the file input, you click it, and then all of a sudden the camera pops open, either facing you or facing the environment, and you can like snap the photo. Now, that's a nice user experience improvement. But the next stage in the journey is, holy crap, what about security, right? And the thing about this input is it does not prompt you if the web app can have access to the camera. So it's not like when you go to a website and you try and access your webcam. Yeah. This is where it gets interesting. It's not like when you go to a website that wants access to your webcam and you click like turn on my webcam, and then the web app's like, or whatever, the browser's like, hey, this website's trying to access your webcam. Is that okay? And you either say yes or no, right? It doesn't work like that. It just opens up the camera right away. And this takes us to the next stop in the what the heck journey, right? Because then people say, hold the phone. You're going to tell me that a website, without my actual knowledge as a user, because I'm either seeing a file input, or you could even disguise a file input to be like, click this for $20, right? Like you could disguise a file input, right? And you just get a user to select it. I actually, before you get there, I don't know the story if you can programmatically trigger a file input click event with JavaScript. So let's just forget that security question. But
Okay.
if you can get the user to actually click that, it's going to go straight to opening up the camera. And people say, hold on, isn't there a security issue with that? And the answer, as far as I know, again, this is like a today I learned thing that I'm not a browser spec author or creator, producer. But as far as I know, the web application doesn't actually have access to the camera itself. It prompts the camera to open. It doesn't it can't control the camera. It doesn't get access to the camera feed,
Okay.
but it prompts the camera to open. The camera requires user input to actually capture the file. And then that file is stored in a temporary folder, which all devices have, the temp
Mhm.
folder. And then from there, it's just a matter of that file being added to the file input the same way that it would be from a file picker UI, right? So, as far as I know, from security concerns, it's literally no different than the file picker UI opening up or having a camera that stores that file to a temporary location and then selecting the file for you, right? Think of it as like if you were to open up, like freaking out about the camera opening up is the equivalent of freaking out about clicking the file input and then the file UI opening up, right?
Yeah, okay, okay. I understand that. And so it requires some kind of further user interaction for it to eventually get sent as a payload.
Yes, and only the file that is selected or the camera that or the like photo that is taken um, actually can be accessed by the web application. Now, I think that that's a pretty decent security story. I think that it's basically as secure as the native file input. There are a couple caveats. I spoke with K-Ball and Nick Nisi from JS Party earlier about this, and they brought up some interesting concerns. One, which I don't personally think has a lot of legs, which is, well, what if I go to the web app, I open up the camera, and then in the middle, like before I actually take a photo, I go and like wander away and get distracted. Then I come back to my camera. I don't remember where my camera, like I don't remember why my camera's open, but I decide, oh, let me just take a picture. And then yeah, technically then the web application would have access to a photo that you took.
This is thin.
That yeah, I think that's a bit thin. I also think that as far as my experience was, my camera using that UI, the camera looks different than the native camera on my phone when I'm actually taking a photo.
Okay.
But that's kind of the thin defense. I think the one that actually has some good legs that they mentioned was if you take a photo and you add it to the web application, um, there is some metadata that comes along with that photo, and
Mm.
including I don't know about location.
It depends on how you have your camera set up. It at least in
Yeah,
iOS, you can tell it never attach
yeah,
location data
yeah,
to
yeah.
these images, whether
So
it
I don't know
respects
about
that or
location.
not.
I don't
Yeah.
know about if that's on a camera setting level or an operating system setting level, or
Mhm.
if the browser is even just going to be like, we scrape that data out. I haven't looked into it far enough. This again was a kind of a new thing to me. Um, but that would be a security concern because then you would have location, well, theoretical location information and time, right? So then I can say, well, I know that this person was here at this time, um,
Yeah.
which is kind of scary. But that's a like unknown. Maybe it's not the case. I'll figure it out, and I also want to figure out if it can be triggered with just Java. Like how much can I do with just JavaScript to trigger this camera to pop up?
Yeah, and I think like the moral of the story here, especially around security, is that this is a file input, and these attributes allow for convenient file creation, right? Like that
Yep.
seems like the
Yeah,
overall story here.
and
And
selection.
right, so like you create the file, it automatically selects the file. So like it's a convenience thing, but it does allow this UX that doesn't necessarily, especially with metadata on photos. I'm very curious about how browsers treat that, but also how just like each. I'm sure it's not uniform, just considering how browsers work. I'm sure there are some that would probably strip most of that out, but
Yeah.
that's really
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. The other interesting thing is this is not supported on desktop browsers,
Okay.
which kind of I don't know, kind of makes sense by the nature of mobile devices being kind of the camera being more of a integrated piece of hardware, software
Yeah.
into the browser. Most of the camera access on a desktop requires some sort of third-party application. And I think, but I think that there are some notes in the WHATWG, the HTML working group,
Mhm.
in the specifications that show how it could be implemented for the browser. So maybe that's coming down in the future. It'd be cool to have access to my webcam for something
Yeah.
like this. But I think that that would have to be built into the, like, accessing the camera would have to be built into the browser or into the file picker UI. So
Mhm.
again, this is something that I'm not super in the know about. But that was very interesting. That prompted a tweet, which I then ended up making this video that's coming out next week about. No, actually, that video I think is already out. And then I wrote a blog post about it. And I shared that blog post in a few different places. And one of the places was I posted it to the Changelog News, and it got accepted. And from the Changelog News, one of the sort of panelists that's on there for us, really awesome person. He has something set up that automatically takes any news and posts it on uh, Hacker News, and that sucker went to the top of Hacker News. And so, without me knowing, because I did post on Hacker News, it didn't get much traction,
Right.
but with someone else posting it and it getting to the top, all of a sudden I started getting notifications from my server resources were getting high, and I was like, okay, like when the first one comes and it's like, hey, you're at 75, you're like 50%. I was like, okay, that's nothing. And then when the next one comes in at 5 minutes later, you're at 75%. Then 5 minutes, 3 minutes, you're at 80%. You're at 90%. I was like, oh my god, I'm getting DDoSed. What is going on? Like, yeah, it's like
I don't want to dive into like what web architecture you're using, but it's like if you're running a server and this isn't like heavily cached, I have concerns.
no, it is heavily cached. It wasn't that my website, but there was some service on my website that is based on the number of views or something, and it was
Oh.
hitting. So yeah, my website is cached and like responds super fast. There was
So it
no
wouldn't have
chance.
gone down. It was just like some others.
No, yeah, but it was still like kind of like, oh, what the heck is going on? Alarm bells are ringing.
You almost got the hug of death.
Yeah, which was fun. It was exciting, and then I later I found out that it was on Hacker News, and so that was cool. So I did want to share on this show. You getting security concerns now?
Yes,
No,
I'm
Grandpa is.
making sure you don't see all
Yeah,
of my
yeah,
credit
yeah,
cards.
yeah. I did want to share a little something else to kind of close off this story. Is that this blog post and sort of content that I created was on, like Twitter, YouTube, my blog, and then like even on like Reddit and stuff. And everywhere that it landed, it did do really well. And I think, which is also kind of annoying because I spent such little time actually working on it. I literally made the video, just like whatever, threw it together, and then I copied the captions from YouTube to make the blog post. So it was like very low effort, and I filled in, I like made the corrections and
Oh,
like filled in links and stuff, but it was mostly written by YouTube's bots, right? So very low effort, and I got like 26,000 views in one day on that one blog post. So I kind of want to share a little bit of the story there, which was like how the stars sort of aligned. One was I think that the actual content was relevant and interesting to a lot of people. It was a short blog post. Normally I do kind of long form, 3,000, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 words, right? This
mhm,
one, I don't know, it was probably less than 1,000, a couple hundred.
okay.
Um, it was also, by the time that I wrote the blog post, the video was already out. So I think that that accompanied with the video gives people a little bit more options on what sort of medium they like to consume it. And I did a video embed in the blog post. And then I think the real trick was that the title, the original title I had was TIL HTML capture attribute is rad, which doesn't say much. Like, okay, cool. It tells you the whole story there. And I ended up changing it to TIL : you can access a user's camera with just HTML, which I think was the right sort of title to get people interested without it actually like promising and not delivering, because then you're in like the very like clickbaity, this is not what I wanted to read. It like tells you what you want to read and then actually delivers on what it says, but it's also intriguing enough that people are interested. And it also kind of had that right amount of people engaging in both positive and negative feedback of like, oh, that's really cool, or oh, that's a security issue, and just like going back and forth on whether it is or not. So it was a fun ride, and I wouldn't necessarily attribute a lot of the quote unquote success to my content creation capabilities, but just right timing and good turn of events. And yeah.
Well, that's cool. I'm sure you'll get more of that. I mean, your growth as a content person on the internet is something I enjoy watching.
I don't know how much it actually is growing, but little by little,
Oh, there's a whole thing. 5 years from now, like you're going to be out of control.
All right. I'll be laying on my internet yacht after making my internet millions of internet dollars.
Oh, I don't think it translates to money. It's just
I'll be laying on my
you'd be floating on all that internet clout.
Yeah, I'll be laying on my what is it? Exposure yacht from my exposure millionaire exposure. Yeah.
Oh, yes. So many. You have just been super exposed.
Yeah. I love exposing. Never mind.
So yeah, that could get dicey.
I didn't want to. Yeah, I said too much already. That'll be for the post show. So Grant, let's transition into you want to talk about some TypeScript-y stuff.
So I have moved internally at my job from having an immense amount of control over where I work. So over, the rules of the repository, all that kind of stuff. Linting, TypeScript configs, all these sorts of things. Prettier configs, all that. Project structure.
That is such a power trip.
So, yes.
Every 6 months, just switch from semicolons to no semicolons and see who flips out. I'm just kidding. That's like really good advice to increase the turnover rate in your company. Don't do that if you're in that position. But that would be kind of funny to just like power trip.
Yeah. So like I was given some really good advice when I was setting this up initially. Like I've worked in like smaller groups where we like have lots of control, but this was something where intentionally we were going to, grow the group and have lots of developers working on it, and we didn't, and they still do. I'm no longer involved. The advice that I got that I think worked out really well, and I think I covered it on the show when I first started working on this, was like just enough to keep things sane. If it gets in the way of developers, like you're saying, there's just going to be churn. Like don't make it super obtrusive. And I didn't. I think it worked out really well. And so like I have moved into a different group, and I am working in a repo that I have no control over, and it is all in TypeScript. And I'm trying to think how much I can say without getting into any trouble.
Here on the show or to your like team?
Oh, on the show.
Okay. You can say a lot. Just send it to me. I'll tell them it's okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
I
declassify it.
You declassify it on the spot.
Yeah.
When a developer does it, it's not a leak. Essentially what it comes down to is the style choices that they've made and the way that they use TypeScript is not as strict as the choices I would make. And so this is a choice where they allow you to use any, and there are very kind of minimal pre-commit, pre-push, and pre-merge checks done based on types. And so this is something that has just kind of opened a world of TypeScript misuse to me that I've been like aware of mostly through you, Austin. Um, and like a lot of the reasons that people hate TypeScript, which is essentially that like TypeScript has this double-edged sword where it allows for incremental and progressive and soft adoption, mostly through the use of like the TS config being very, very loose, like allowing JS files, allowing any's, like basically turning off all of the safety features that make TypeScript useful, and you know, still running TSC for like whatever reason. I'm not sure anymore. And so like I I see this and I wonder like, okay, is this the general? And I'd love to hear from like anybody listening now or listening later. Tweet me at Grant Gladwell. Has this been most people's experience with TypeScript, where the projects that they're working in are large projects, lots and lots of developers working on it? I understand the reasons for having very loose rules around this stuff, and it's to allow for the use of types without, like I was saying earlier, being too obstructive, right? Like it's it's a it's a double-edged sword. And so I'm in the process of like going through and just kind of cleaning some stuff up around that. But it's been really, really wild. And I've clearly been in like this privileged position of working against GraphQL APIs where like the type of the response can be typed and checked. Like types have been something that um, historically for me have been like an indispensable tool that allows me to write very robust, solid code. Um, very, very few bugs. And the bugs that do come up are incredibly
Someone else
difficult to
wrote.
figure out. No, like it's definitely stuff I will own it. But it's not the normal like, oh, you're printing a 0 or printing undefined somewhere. Like that just doesn't happen in most stuff that I write because TypeScript doesn't allow you to do that. Um, and so this is something that might be inconsequential, but for me it's significant.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I wouldn't say that I have a strong opinion here, but I
If you
think that
did, you would just make it a comment anyway.
yeah. Wait,
A
what?
JS doc. This is the
Yeah,
only
yeah,
way you type.
yeah. JS doc is wonderful, my dude. It's
I
great.
will give you that like the JS doc types and comments that I've seen you make a lot of sense and are strong types.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so but I think some things that you can do on your team to maybe help with that is when people put any, sometimes they use that as an escape hatch when it's like, I just want TypeScript to shut up here. And if that's the case, or in those
Mhm.
cases, maybe lean more on the TS ignore, or I think there's a new comment system now that's like
Ooh.
TS expect error or expect
Ooh.
exception or something like that, where you're basically telling TypeScript like, I don't want you to ignore this, and I don't want you to treat this as any. But I do, because of the nature of JavaScript being a loosely typed language. It's like you can kind of do a lot. There are cases where you're like, I know what I'm doing, TypeScript. I actually expect you not to know what's going on here, and that's okay. I got this. I don't. Did you look it up and
TS expect error. Yeah.
expect error? Okay.
So that's absolutely. So that's brilliant. Yeah, it's TS expect error.
Yeah.
And
Throw that link in the doc so we can put it in the show notes.
yes. So like this is something that I think like the TypeScript team has really thought through, and projects that are as old as the one that I'm working in that have incrementally gone from something like Angular into React and gone from like a flow type system into TypeScript, and it's all in the same repo in the same Git history, right? Like this is some deep rooted stuff. It's very, very hard to go in a direction where things are super, super strictly typed. And so, yeah, like forcing all of your developers to like put these comments in where the compiler would fail is a pretty gargantuan ask, to be honest. Like
Yeah.
it really, really is. And so like I understand their reasoning for doing this. For me, it is not an environment where I feel like I can produce safe work. Not even like good work. I don't feel safe writing code. And so like I'm bending over backwards, like tightening all this stuff up.
Yeah. I think as far as like or another opportunity that you can have there is, as far as linters go, you can enable more strict linting rules and implement, instead of implementing those rules on the entire code base when there's like a PR, you can enforce those rules only on the files that are part of that PR. So then you're ensuring, hey, let's follow the sort of like Boy Scout rule, leave a place better than you found it. So when someone goes into a file and they make changes, they see those little red squigglies and they start to address them as they're in that scope of work. That's another option. I don't know.
So I agree with what you're saying, and that's something that I kind of did in this process. I'm going through and looking for a tweet that I made because I discovered a setting. So one of the things that was
Yes, I
going,
tweet that.
yeah, one of the things that I was kind of going nuts about was some of the formatting rules. Like I have my VS Code set up in a way where like it auto formats on save and it auto formats the whole document.
Yeah.
And that was a mistake.
Yeah.
That was like a bad idea. And so I'm like going through and looking through the documentation and trying to find out like, okay, how can I do this in a way where the changes I'm making, I will format, and anything else in the document gets left alone. It's the setting editor.format on save mode, and the mode is modifications if available. And so it needs to know the Git history, and and then it does a diff, and it's like I will only format the diff. And this has saved me from lots and lots of headaches, because some of these files that I'm working in are 800 lines long, and I'm editing 6 or 8 lines, and I do something that screws up part of the like pre-push script, and I'm like, what the heck, man? And it's really literally just formatting based on linting rules that are correct for the repo, but nobody follows them, so it breaks something.
Ugh.
Yeah.
What is the point of having linting rules then?
Right.
Yeah, I mean that's why you need to have the formatter run on pre-commit.
Yep.
For everyone. Anyway, yeah, that's a good tip to like help you, but it also helps whoever's reviewing your PRs if you have that sort of system where someone else has to look at your code.
Makes it much smaller.
Yeah, because then they're not looking at changes that are just formatting changes.
Yeah,
can you throw that?
Absolutely, yeah. So
Yeah,
I had an entire PR that was just formatting changes. I think 6 or 8,000 lines added and 4,000 deleted. So that
Nice.
review was fun, and like I apologize to everyone that was reviewing it, but I also think they understand like what
why
it
you're
is.
not getting a gift this holiday season. Yeah, those are hard. Like if you want to do that, I think it's worth to just have a branch that's like the formatting only branch, and you just have to like YOLO approve whatever PR comes through, or let the one person that is responsible. But that's a scary one too, because every once in a while there's like a formatting thing that's like, I don't know, do I really trust these robots?
Here's where the power trip really starts, right? Like what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna extract the entire section of the code base that I own, because I'm a guest developer in this repo, and I'm going to publish a package and have them consume it as a package. this is going to be quite a large project just to do this migration. So I'm going to have to like take it slow. But it's the only solution that I see as reasonable, partially because of what you said, which is, you got to just be able to YOLO push some stuff sometimes, or if you need to do some like large scale refactor, you got to be able to do it. The process for merging and publishing in this repo requires, and this is all about security, safety, and ensuring that what we push out is the best product. And so it's slow by design, but it kills me. Like I need to be able to work a little bit faster.
Yeah.
And so like I'm trying to like create that bubble for myself around this, which is why I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. But like that's one of those things. You kind of mentioned like sometimes you gotta just YOLO push it. Literally cannot do that. I do not have that power. Have no permission, and that's a good thing.
So I think if I could sort of reiterate the words that you said, that you are enjoying the power trip from making other people consume your large package. Literally words. Your words, not mine. Your words, not mine. That's what you said. I'm just making sure I understand it.
I regret to inform you, I don't think this package is going to be that large. Just gotta throw it out there.
All right, that's the end of the show. I think we're gonna close out on that. We're at a good amount of time.
We got to throw some love out there.
Yeah. I mean, we're gonna move on to the next.
Oh, you want me to stop talking about the size of the gotcha?
I am going to YOLO push us to the section of the show that we like to end with, which is our, what are we calling it these days? Showing some love, appreciation.
Definitely not stick picks. No. Not shout outs.
No shout outs. It was shout outs. Just the appreciation station.
The
choo-choo.
Happy this thing is a thing.
Yeah. All right, you're going first because I don't remember what I was going to do.
So, like I recently started watching. So like I got the Paramount Network. I don't know if I shared that as a previous like pick, but if you have kids, Paramount owns Nickelodeon, and you have to pay them $11 a month or whatever, and then you have infinity entertainment for your child. It's one of the greatest things ever. However, I'm going to be a little bit more specific in picking a show that is on this Paramount Plus thing, and it's Star Trek: Strange New Worlds.
Nice.
I have not enjoyed much new Star Trek. Even Picard, regretfully, is just like it services the fans, but it feels very kind of flat and two-dimensional. I love seeing Patrick Stewart. I like anything he's in, I'll watch. I don't care, but it's not Next Generation. Whereas Star Trek: Strange New Worlds gives me like this enthusiastic hope for like what it can be. And I get that this is a spin-off of STD, and I'm not a fan of STD. It doesn't feel like Star Trek, but this specific show is incredibly good. I love it. All of the characters super interesting, well developed, all super hot, like ridiculous. It's otherworldly, just type of great show.
You should really get a mirror sometime.
Something for everybody. I should get a mirror sometime.
Yeah, you should get a mirror.
Like a mirror universe? Like,
no, you're talking about super hot people. It was a nice little compliment. Gosh, can't even compliment.
You told me earlier I look like Joe Rogan.
You decided that was not nice. I said you look lovely. You got the bald white dude with stubble look, and you're rocking it.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, cool. would you say that if you're a parent that wants to entertain your child, it is paramount that you get that subscription?
Yeah. Paramount Plus, like Nickelodeon, all the things. It's great.
Oh, that was a pun. Come on.
Wait, what? Oh, it's Paramount, dude.
It is
Okay,
paramount that you get it. Never mind. Just
is it funnier that I completely didn't
you just
get it?
talked into it. Yeah. It went over your head, which never mind.
It's slippery up here, man. It just
is,
like
yeah.
slid right off.
Yeah. Cool. I'm gonna take my turn and say that I fell in love with this new app. It's called Too Good to Go, and it is wonderful. It's right up my alley in that it is an application. It's an app. It's like a marketplace that connects vendors that have goods that are like need to be sold because they have like a timestamp. So usually things like bakeries, there's some grocery stores, a lot of bagel places that make stuff every day, coffee places that make stuff every day, and at the end of the day, it's like they got to get rid of it.
Yeah.
Even like there's a lot of restaurants on there that they're not going to sell their day old stuff. So it connects them with people that want to buy it. So you can get it at like a massive discount. I got Pokey one day for like $6. It was great. I love it. It's my favorite thing. I check it like almost every day.
Isn't Pokey like raw fish?
Yeah, but it's like at the end of the day. So they like, they go and close, but whatever they have left over at the end of the day that they were serving customers. Yeah, like they were serving customers like they were just serving customers that, but then they're going to close their doors. So they're like, hey, you can come by and pick up an extra Poke Bowl. And
that's cool.
It's great. I love it, man. I've gotten so many pastries. I'm going to be so fat like in a month.
What's the name of the app again?
Too Good to Go.
I really thought this app was going to be just like an excuse generator. Like when somebody invites you to something and you're like, I'm too good to go. Let me check the app for my excuses.
Dang, too bad the name's taken.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's it as far as the show goes. Thanks for hanging out, Grant. This was a good one. I really appreciate your insights on the TypeScript stuff. I hope that your situation with your package lint on your package. I hope you can sort out your package lint.
Everything that you said there is disgusting as usual, but it's always a pleasure to
I hope.
hang
Is
out.
it too much? Should I like tone it down? I feel like it's just fun. I feel like we can have fun here.
Do we? Okay, so yeah, it's too much, but I love it. I'm here for it, as the kids say, because you are giving.
Good. Okay, well, let's call it at that. And thank you, folks that were on the live show. Your comments are too sweet. And we will be hanging out after the show to chat with you. And thank you, folks that are in the podcast world. Please, actually, if you want to help us, if you are enjoying these shows and you are encouraging my disgusting sense of 13-year-old humor, please tell someone that you like the show. You know what? Even if you don't like the comedy, tell them you like the show. Maybe they'll like it.
Lie to them.
And, we'll do anything. Just like us, please. Give us a thumbs up. Just like me, please. I'll do whatever. Yeah, that's the show. I'm gonna leave it at that. See you later.
Said every content creator ever.
Don't moss and subscribe. Like and subscribe.
Don't moss and subscribe?
It was bad. Liken.
Oh.
All right. We're getting off the show.
Okay.
Oh wait, no. Well, no, we're still on the show. And we're gonna record.
This is gonna be
Yes, I'm gonna leave a clap. That's so that I can future Austin can see something something cool. To where the podcast ends and the after show begins, Grant, if you want to get on these chats, head to my Twitch channel. It's popping off. Austin's on a roll. Call me Butter, because I'm on a roll, baby. Timestamp clap. That's right.
Where is your Twitch? Give me Twitch, Twitter, Twitch.
Yeah.
Dude, oh, what is this? So I don't get on Twitch much.
Stamp that time clap. Okay, done.
Oh, there we are. Okay.
Yeah, Twitch is weird. Like, there's a lot of time. I mean, even as someone that Twitches on a regular every week, I still sometimes can't find the chat.
I think it won't let me talk.
Do you have an account? Are you logged in?
I don't know.
But you can just talk.
Here I am.
They're actually watching, so you can actually just talk.
Okay.
Show's on.
Here, I have a microphone. Can do. Yeah. Somebody mentioned that Patrick Stewart is another bald dude. Yes. And absolutely a hero. Actually, was knighted. So an entire country's hero.
That's Sir Patrick Stewart to y'all.
Sir.
Yeah, I'm gonna say you're not bringing the Patrick Stewart vibe.
Yeah, he's a little older than me.
You're right. You're too youthful.
And to be honest, like significantly more refined. Like, I don't think he's ever said dude. I think he's lived his whole life never saying dude, and that's just not how I roll.
I bet he drops it on the regular when he's making love.
I don't think he ever does this. And I'm a fan of this.
I bet he says dude in the bedroom.
Whoa. Probably.
Yeah, why did I am on it? Yeah, I don't know what
you are on. Like, what is?
I'm streaming to LinkedIn right now. Like, this is not LinkedIn quality content.
All of your future connections talking about dudes in the bedroom.
Yeah, that's all right. My Twitch people know where it's at.
They know what's up with the dudes in the bedroom.
That's what they're here for.
Oh, geez. So
so speaking of Twitch people, what's up, chat? You got all of our attention. Stony is threatening your life if you remove those semis. Do not remove the semis.
So yeah, like I'm the person that I learned to program from is like a huge semicolon enthusiast, and basically like makes that change to prettier and just leaves everything else up to prettier. So like semicolons true, and then
like that's actually how they introduce themselves at parties. They're like, hey,
semicolons,
I'm a huge semicolon enthusiast. Not even a semicolon. I'm like a full colon enthusiast.
I'm a colon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I think having strong opinions about semicolons is a little bit strange. Like I'll work with whatever the code base, as long as it's automated, I don't really care. Right?
Yeah, I just hit save and let the thing do its thing.
Unless hitting save breaks everything. That was like, I've learned so much in the last 2 weeks, and that's one of the things.
Yeah. All right, so Stony, I need to get the lowdown on mittens need to get thrown outside. What's wrong with mittens? When you first got in here, Austin was not using semicolons at all, and you had so much fun making fun of it. Remained the staple between us. Yeah, it's the thing. You are a mittens. Mittens on kittens.
I feel like there's a Julie Andrews song about to spring out of the chat.
I am a mittens, and I need to get thrown outside, is Stony's opinion. So Stony, trying to make a very strong case about our relationship with semicolons, is going to follow up that whole statement with you are a mittens. Just saying. Not making the strongest case.
It's a tough argument.
Yeah.
I mean, Judge might throw it out.
Yeah. Maybe it's a cultural thing. In which case, maybe we're being, I don't know, inconsiderate or naive, right? It's okay to be naive.
It wouldn't be the first time or the last.
On this show?
Oh. I saw somebody on Twitter earlier today being called naive for thinking that cryptocurrency was supposed to be currency. And I just laughed and laughed. You think this is supposed to be currency? How naive. Like, what?
The whole, you know what I should have picked as my pick? Have you seen that website? Crypto is Web3 is going great. Oh, you gotta see it. Seen it?
I don't think I have.
It's great. There's this person on Twitter that's like curating all these things. Web3 is going great.com. I'm gonna listen in the Twitch chat. Oh, yeah. It's just chef's kiss. Yeah, it's wonderful. Just like all of the terrible things that happen, like all the bad news, all the scams, all of the, I mean, there's a lot of sad stories too of like people just like, but yeah, it's just all curated and like put on this Twitter thread that's also fed into this website. It's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. How have I not followed this person?
Hyped for solid pods. The real Web3. Solid pods. Solid pods, honestly, I don't know what it is, but if I had to guess, I would say it's some sort of next level. What are those chambers that you sit in like salinated water? That there's like no light and no sound. It's like a
sensory deprivation chamber.
Sensory deprivation chamber. That's solid pods.
I think of like GetPod. Are you familiar with that? Like the
GitPod
in browser dev environment kind of thing. But apparently specifically for the solid.
Yeah, it could also be one of those like coffee pod things, like a Keurig thing. Solid pod. Solid. Your data, your choice. I don't know. With this Supreme Court, I don't know if this is going to go very far. That was, I don't know, too soon? No, it's all right. That's fine.
Yeah, it's not too soon.
Advancing web standards to empower people. Solid is a specification that lets people store their data securely in decentralized data storage called pods, like dolphins. Pods are like secure personal web servers that this project is created and maintained by dolphins. They're trying to now dolphins are trying to get into the data farming space. When data is stored in someone's pod, they control which people and applications can access it. See, this is how the dolphins take over, and orcas.
This is using decentralized, like URI-based identification, which is not a great way to identify people or agents.
Yeah, the interesting thing about that is, or the interesting thing I would want to know is whether this, I don't think that this is actually used to identify an agent. I think that this is.
So I'm looking at the spec right now, and it says web IDs are an underpinning component in the Solid ecosystem, the primary identifier for users and applications.
Yes,
so it definitely is.
But I think that we need to separate the concept of a web ID being a user and a person, right? Like how many web IDs can I have? If I can have more than one, then technically, right, like I can store different data in a different web ID and essentially create different identities. Does that make sense? So I could have an identity for like,
I don't know, man. In the 90s, we used to just call that a handle.
yeah.
What's your handle?
Yeah.
We were weird. It was great.
It was good. AIM.
We have no names, man. We are nameless.
No.
Name that movie.
I don't know. It's interesting. It's not hackers, is it?
It's 100% hackers.
It's hackers. Yeah, it's totally hackers.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is interesting because a lot of people are like, yeah, so then you can just have your data and your ID and whatever. And I don't know. I had my fun with the Web3 blockchain stuff and the decentralization. Looked into it. Not saying it's like never gonna work, but I think, I don't know. I'm kind of not a fan of it. I've seen a lot of the problems with it, and
I think there's some like really interesting applications for it, but by and large, it's a hammer, and I can't wait for the new hammer to just be edge functions. Like
the other interesting thing about so these things are like you get to control who has access to your data, and that's just not true. Because when I go to in a centralized system, if I go,
things can be private.
Well,
and users can have roles with specific access levels.
Yeah, but okay. So the thing is with like Web3 and like wallets and whatever, instead of me giving an application my username and password to be able to send a transaction, right? The application is going to request my authorization like every time or something like that. And I might have my data that's like privatized, and then it wants to request, like it needs to ask for requests for my email. That's slightly different than the current landscape where I'm actually giving my email so that I can create an account, whatever. But as soon as you have that transaction where I am giving up some of that data, where it's quote unquote, I'm in control of the data, companies need data. They need to have data for those transactions to exist. Otherwise, they don't care, right? So if I give them my data or I give them access, at the moment that I give them access, they have it. They can store it in their own centralized server.
Yeah, there's no guarantee that it's just staying on that specific chain.
Yeah, and so a lot of it is like the theory around this data that you control and you you have to authorize it is like you authorize every time that someone's trying to access it, right? And I need access to your email. Can I get that so I can send you an email? Yeah, sure. And then next time they say, oh, can I access it again? Like you're in control, you have the email or whatever. And maybe I completely misunderstand how these Web3 applications are supposed to work, but at some point you have to give up that data for any centralized or decentralized application. For me to be able to send you emails, I need to eventually have your email address, right?
I mean, a centralized system is just more practical, replicable, robust. Like it can span the planet very easily. I spent some time in San Francisco at some decentralized web meetings where they were talking about like moving off of kind of primary forms of communication and like communicating via like ham radios. Like this is decentralized. And like that's really the length you have to take it to if you want to decentralize. Otherwise, your decentralized network is on tens of other centralized systems that
even ham radio though, like you could presumably connect a ham radio that's listening to different channels and in the same room has some sort of recorder that stores that on some centralized.
Oh, you can listen. You can listen to ham radio frequencies on the internet.
Yeah,
by somebody who's doing exactly that. Yeah,
exactly. Absolutely. It's kind of the same thing, right? Even if the ham radio is quote unquote like a good analogy for a decentralized system, there's still ways to abuse it and centralize that information and grab everyone's
if
radio
every
handles
public chain hasn't been scraped to just oblivion, I would be shocked.
I don't know. So we'll see.
All that information that's public is super useful at some point in time.
Ledger, there is application for blockchain technology, like ledger systems. I think some of the more applicable things are actually in private blockchains, where you can have internal you have like just a few nodes that are responsible to be able to write to or like validate the data on the blockchain and like write to it, and that has some interesting use cases in terms of like, even though it's centralized, right? So then the controlling
Yeah,
body
that's what I was about
could
to. I'm
modify
like, wait, so only a few nodes can do this one job. This is a
right.
role. This is a user role in a centralized system.
It is, but blockchain technology can it would be centralized, not
When a
decentralized blockchain.
blockchain does it, it's decentralized.
No, that's what I'm saying is people associate those two, that they're one and the same, and it's not. It's blockchain is
Okay, that's
technology,
fair.
and there are decentralized like implementations of it, right?
Gotcha.
It's like Ethereum is decentralized.
Yeah.
Because there's no one party that controls all the nodes, but you could still implement that technology in a centralized way that does make sense, because it's essentially it's a ledger system, right? So it's
Yeah.
a way to ensure that you never have you only modify data through new writes, so you never edit the same data, so you have a trackable system for the course of changes.
Right. And so for B1 Mind's question, like blockchain is P2P. Ostensibly, yes, if it's a decentralized implementation, the ledger is stored with each node, and there's some way of kind of tracking who has the latest and when those get updated.
Yeah, I don't know enough about like, I don't know if P2P is specifically a technology as opposed to like a, a paradigm or like an architecture, like serverless. Like serverless isn't well, serverless does have a technology, I guess, but like cloud computing isn't a technology, right? And technically, serverless, aside from the quote unquote serverless company, the serverless architecture is not a technology. It's a pattern. And as I understand it, P2P is not a specific technology, whereas, well, I guess blockchain also is not a specific technology. I
Well,
don't
so
know.
like you're talking about like the difference between a spec and the implementation of a spec, and the implementation of blockchain is not necessarily P2P, but there are implementations that are P2P, and those would be called decentralized implementations of blockchain.
Yeah, something like that.
This is all like weird semantic shit that probably
Yeah.
doesn't super matter, but
Yeah.
I do want to say that I found a tweet of Jason Alexander
Give me Tide Pods.
in
Sorry.
in like in some Trek stuff. Do you want to put this in the Twitch chat? I can't copy paste on my Windows computer. This is killing me.
Oh, I'm gonna put this. Okay, I gotcha.
This is a thing that I think everybody needs to see.
Happy Star Trek Day. Live long and prosper. What is this?
That's Jason Alexander.
Oh my gosh, it totally
Right?
is. Yeah.
That makes it a thing to see.
Wow. He's got something on his forehead that looks
awfully suspect.
Awfully questionable.
I mean, we don't really need to get into that or linting or package size. I mean, that's all.
All right. I'm ready to wrap up because I gotta go. I got an appointment today, but
cool.
Yeah, this was nice. I enjoy doing these post show things for the folks on the live end of stuff.
Cool. Thanks everybody. This was fun. Bye.
Yeah, thanks for hanging out, everyone. Brent, I have no interest in talking blockchain on any sort of platform except for when it comes up like this. So I'm not your guy. I probably also am not the right person to talk about it. You should talk to the Solid Project people. And
this is separate from like
behind Web3 is going great.
Yeah, Molly.
Thing. Molly, yeah.
Molly White. Seems like an absolute G. Like, what a badass.
Yeah. I think that there's some cool people that are way smarter than me on both sides and have some better takes than I do. So I can only speak from my lived experience. And
Did you just, there are good people on both sides.
talking about blockchain. Yeah. Whatever.
Whatever. Sorry.
Whatever. Let's go storm the
I can't
Capitol.
unhear it.
All right, Grant. I'll catch you later. Everyone in the chat, mwah, that's for you. Solid is not blockchain. Damn it. Don't they literally say blockchain?
I don't know.
No, they don't. My bad. Correction. My bad. Decentralized, but not blockchain. That's sending, putting my foot in my mouth. All right. Taking off. Catch you next time. See ya.